You're listening to Feedback, voicing the issues you want to hear. Only on 91.7 FM, Morgantown. Welcome back, everyone. Tonight on Feedback, we're discussing the case for Megan Williams. Back in September of this year, 6 people from Big Creek, West Virginia held captive a 20-year-old by the name of Megan Williams for days until her rescue on September 8th. They beat her, molested her, and forced harm onto a young girl that no human being could ever deserve. The 6 people charged with the attack are 24-year-old Bobby Brewster, his mother 49-year-old Frankie Brewster, 20-year-old Danny Combs, his girlfriend 23-year-old Alicia Burton, and her mother 46-year-old Karen Burton, all of which are facing kidnapping and sexual assault charges, which carry maximum penalties of life in prison. However, that has not satisfied some people supporting Megan Williams. On top of those charges, they believe that the federal hate crime charges should also be brought upon the persecuted. Joining us now is our legal analyst from Fayetteville, West Virginia, Miss Belinda Martin, and John Shabazz for the Black Unity Coalition and the Black Lawyers for Justice. Thank you for joining us.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Let's kick it off with some questions. This one's for you, Belinda. Should the Megan Williams case be considered a hate crime?
Yes, definitely should be. She was targeted. She's an African American.
Well, I know that the specific term hate crime has had some controversy over the years. Could you explain to the audience what the difference is between a regular hate crime and your run-of-the-mill regular crime? What constitutes it a hate crime?
Hate crime is when they target a specific person of national origin. An African American, Mexican American,
Sure.
Jews, Arabs, Pakistanians. It's because of their ethnicity.
Now, in the case of Megan,
and also their race or ethnicity.
The Attorney General was saying that in Megan Williams' case that because she had a previous relationship with the persecuted, that they can't classify it as a race crime, as a hate crime. Does that have any bearing on it?
It shouldn't have any bearing on because what they did to her not because she was a female, but because she was an African American. And that's the difference.
And what evidence has so far supported that statement?
Can I interject?
What happened to her?
Oh, well, Mr. Shabazz, go ahead. What would you like to say?
Yeah, I would like to interject and say that if you look at the police reports from the police investigation of this case, these people pretty much told on themselves. It was an easy case for the police to prosecute in terms of what the defendants themselves said. They said that they said that they called her nigger. And then we have all the information that came from Megan herself. Excuse me, the N-word.
Thank you,
every
sir.
time that they,
Yeah, we
every
don't want the
time
FCC up on it.
yeah, every time that they had stabbed her, they passed the knife amongst each other and they called her the N-word over and over and over. This is a flagrant case dealing with racial hostility. But we asked for the hate crimes application in this case, not only on the federal level, but the state statute, as I've talked to Professor Judith Scully at WVU Law Center, that the state hate crimes application, the statute on the state level is sufficient enough to handle it. Now, Prosecutor Abrams in Logan County is, according to my understanding, reevaluating the possible application of the hate crimes on a state level. You mentioned in your opening, you mentioned a federal application.
Yes,
yes, we would like that, but at this particular time, it seems that the federal government has taken the position that it does not fall up under its specific criteria, which includes she would have to be going to vote or trying to get in trying to get housing in a specific area. She'd have to be a federally protected right. She'd have to be trying to access a federally protected right. So it's distinct, but it's been defined in a conservative tone, a narrowly constructed tone on the federal level. On the state level, the statute is clear, and we demand that the hate crime statute be applied in the case. We had 800 people down in Charleston for the National March on Hate Crimes. And I want to say that was a huge success. If you want to donate directly to Megan Williams and her family, you can go to blacklawyersforjustice.org and hit that donate button, and that's going to go directly to them.
Yeah, we're here talking about Megan Williams with Belinda Morton, our legal analyst from Fayetteville, West Virginia, and John Shabazz, BLACKUNITY Coalition representative. Belinda, does that sound about right?
He's correct. He's correct. And they used, like you said, they used the N-word at every stage of what they were doing to her. And the reason I believe that the prosecutor down there doesn't want to do anything is because he has prosecuted these individuals on numerous occasions. They have a long history. Criminals, and I guess he just didn't want to do it.
Does that specific prosecutor have a history of dealing with other hate crimes?
I'm not aware of any others.
And I'm not aware either, but I want to follow up with Linda said, right? These people right here are career criminals, and she's correct. He's dealt with them in the past. So that these career criminals are out walking the streets so that they could do this to other people. If you check the numbers of how many black people are in the prisons in West Virginia, you can believe if they were black, they wouldn't be walking the streets.
Now, Belinda, he's already charging them with all these other charges that are supposed to put these people behind bars for life. Now, what more could a hate crime charge add to it?
You will send a message to the people that they do not treat African Americans like that, and we're not stand for that. They need to be sent a message.
Well, speaking of the African American persuasion of the hate crimes, have there been any other hate crimes in West Virginia that have caught so much attention as this one?
Right.
Not in this century, I don't believe. In the 20th century, maybe. But I don't know Virginia in the 21st century.
Yes, go ahead, John.
I want to interject there because there was a case up here in this area that led to the state legislation. That was the J.R. Warren case over in Granttown. That case right there led to the state hate crime laws getting through the legislature. According to Martin Staunton down in Huntington and Charleston, he's a reporter. He said he had been searching over the last 3 or 4 weeks for any case of hate crimes prosecution. I've talked to other people that are involved with the Human Rights Commission. They say that there has been other cases that have been prosecuted as hate crimes. We don't know of any convictions, and I still don't know of any other hate crimes prosecution in the state. However, in this case, we got to go back again and say that we have to have this case prosecuted as a hate crime. Given the history, we want to be protected here in West Virginia and throughout the nation at a time when intimidation of African Americans is popping up.
You say that it's popping up. Are there any other national issues that you think relate back to the Megan Williams case? For instance, the Gina 6. Do you think that ties in any way?
Well, with the Gina 6 case where African American students, they were the ones that largely kept that up, right? Meaning that they got online and they blogged. The Gina 6 was a case where if they hadn't gotten national attention, it would have been a case where locally they would have swept it up under the rug. It would have been handled improperly. But because of the national attention, because students, they wouldn't quit. They got on the line and they blogged each other. So it got in the hands of some national people who also were involved with the Megan Williams case.
Well, speaking of really standing up and making that difference that the people can get involved with, how was the protest? How did that go? Was that already held, or is that, I'm not sure.
That was held on November 2nd. We went out to Logan County, a coalition of black organizations, which included the Black Lawyers for Justice, Reverend Kenneth Glasgow, Al Sharpton's brother, the Ordinary People's Society from Alabama, the New Black Panther Party was there, Security for Black Lawyers for Justice, a number of different organizations on the local and national level were there at the march, and it was a huge success.
Belinda, did you say that you wanted to add something to that?
Yes, that was a good march. But what I want to add to is that what happened to Megan is happening on all levels here in West Virginia because of racism is rampant. For instance, in Raleigh County, a student who's only 12 years old was harassed by an adult teacher, which was wrong. They called him because he was of Pakistani descent, but he's a United States citizen born in West Virginia, and he was accused of doing that that he shouldn't be here. So that's hate. That's hate.
And if
what needs to be done is sensitivity training for anyone in the school system, anyone in a position of power or authority, police officers, judges, to understand that the United States is not white, just white. And when they do things to people of color, that's hate. That's hate. And it's supposed to be a melting pot.
Now, for either of you two, what kind of experience have you had with these racial issues around the state? What would you say the level of racism is around the state?
It's everywhere. If you start with the school system, do they teach multiculturalism, or do they just teach about the North and the South? West Virginia is the southernmost northern state. But everywhere you go, the daughters of the Confederacy is still alive and well. The KKK is still alive and well. The neo-Nazis are still alive and well. And they just gathered people up.
Now, if you're just tuning in with us, we are speaking with Belinda Morton, who is our legal analyst from Fayetteville, West Virginia. And we're also talking with John Shabazz from the BLACKUNITY Coalition. Listeners, this is a very key subject. If you have any questions or comments for our guests, or just to speak on your own behalf, that number for you is 304-293-6397.
Yes. Are you still there?
Yes.
I'm still there.
Yes.
I do have a specific comment. Given the African American population here in West Virginia, we are told that population is about 2%.
1%.
You said 1%?
1%.
Okay. Now, those of us believe that, I'm one of those people that believe that since it's 1%, it hasn't always been 1%, so we believe that African Americans deserve special protection as an endangered species because of that, right? Because this is what I'm saying. I'm working on a case right now where an African American minister was beaten in Huntington by the police department and so forth, right? And that case right there, it shows a disrespect for even the professional class of African American people here in this state. And a lot of it comes from the isolation of the state. The state is, and this is my personal perspective on it, the state is surrounded by D.C., Ohio, but West Virginia, for some reason, kind of lags behind in this diversity and equality for black people. Now, just because we represent 2% of the population don't mean that we've always represented 2% of the population, and don't mean that we don't deserve special treatment. When I say special treatment, because of our numbers, it's easy to exploit and disenfranchise us because of our numbers. Look at the representatives that we have from West Virginia. We have Robert Byrd.
Ex-Klansman. An ex-Klansman.
We have him, and given his background and his reputation and so forth, yes, I believe that Senator Byrd has done a lot of good things for West Virginia as a collective. However, given his background as a former Klansman, we believe that he should do something specifically for African Americans throughout West Virginia as an atonement and reconciliation.
What would you like him to do exactly? What would be good for Robert C. Byrd to do?
I think to enhance the quality of life for African Americans here in West Virginia, I think a legitimate home ownership program, because it's an issue, as far as I'm concerned, it's an issue of enhancing the quality of life for African Americans. So a legitimate home ownership program could be a good start.
Well, do you not believe that sometimes things have to be done for yourself to really stand up and make a difference? What would you suggest to your own family and friends, what they can do? Because obviously Senator Byrd has been in office for years and years, and if he hasn't done anything by now, he's probably not going to in the few years he has left on the earth.
If that.
Yeah, so I mean, what would really be your suggestion for the others out there to really do something?
I would say join the Black Unity Coalition, start an organization. We're working to develop investigators that will be able to look at cases from a perspective of from a victim's perspective, meaning that from the perspective of the people that have been victimized, we can't ask the police to investigate themselves. We can't ask politicians to investigate themselves. And so what we say is organize, 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 and become aware oftentimes we spend time watching the football game. We cheer for WVU and it's predominantly African American football team. But what are the real issues up underneath what appears to be a liberal situation? We got to be able to deal with the real issues and enhance the quality of life. So again, we go back to organize and becoming aware of the conditions.
We're here talking about the case for Megan Williams with our legal analyst Belinda Morton and John Shabazz of the BLACKUNITY Coalition. If you want to call in, the number is 293-NEWS. That spells news. Now, going back to Megan Williams, she was taken up to the trailer under the assumption that there was a party there by a girl named Krista. Have either of you heard anything more about this Krista character?
I thought it was Christy.
In the final call exclusive that she gave an interview with, she mentions that when I first went up there, a girl I knew named Krista took me up there. She said we were going to a party.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. Linda, I can maybe address that a little bit because I had an opportunity to interview Megan, and we consider Krista as being the seventh person, meaning that there were 6 that were charged, but from my understanding, Krista was the person that actually took her out there and delivered her. And it was a situation where she delivered her and said, "I brought you an N-word." So I didn't want to go into saying that word again, but that's
don't use the N-word. Just say N-word. It's supposed to be buried. It was buried at the NAACP in Detroit this year.
Well,
buried.
Yeah, you mentioned a good point about that word being buried, but I've noticed it's very difficult to listen to any modern music without African Americans using that word on their own. Isn't it important for them to stop using it if you want others not to?
People that are educated have stopped using the N-word.
Mm-hmm. And when we look at that, right, we actually can't blame the hip-hop. That's a situation of blaming the victim. The rappers or the hip-hop people did not do what they did not do what was done to Megan Williams. Yes, the N-word we got some issues that we got to deal with within our own communities, right? However, just because the rappers use that word and sometimes define a condition or that they might be in or whatever doesn't necessarily mean that it's all right because people did this to Megan Williams and used that word.
Okay, we got a little off track there. Let's go back to this 7th character, Krista. Well, you said you did a little bit of investigation about this person. Who is she?
It's my understanding that it was somebody that Megan had known and so forth, and that yes, they were going to a party, and she got out there and she got tricked, and they turned against her. And I can't go into specifics, but in a vaguely said way, that's what happened.
Belinda,
she trusted somebody she shouldn't have trusted.
Belinda, when she's doing these interviews, these exclusive interviews, is she damaging her case?
Yes, I believe she is. She should let her lawyer, which in this case is the prosecutor, monitor what she says. Because we don't want the venue to be changed. The venue should stay where it is. Because the people in Logan know the character of these criminals who did the things to her. The more she speaks out, it means adverse publicity. They may be able to get a change of venue, and we don't want that to happen. At least I wouldn't if I was her attorney or the prosecutor. Not let that happen.
You mentioned the career criminals of these people that are allegedly involved. What have they been charged with in the past?
Well, according to what I read, I'm sorry.
Can you answer that, Linda?
Yes, what I read in the newspaper, because I'm not down there, what I read in the newspaper is that they have over 126 criminal complaints and convictions, by those 6 people.
I believe Frankie Brewster even had a murder charge on her reduced to a manslaughter. Yeah.
And he's out on the streets?
No, that's the mother. Her name is Frankie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, she's out on the streets, and she has a murder conviction?
They convicted to manslaughter.
John, what do you have to say about this?
Well, I had heard specifically from some of the family members that these people all of them do have a career criminal history. Some of them did have murder convictions that have been have been reduced to manslaughter and so forth. So these people, I say if they were African Americans, I don't think they would be out on the street with that kind of history.
Yeah,
once again.
I don't think anyone should be out there with them.
Well, yeah, the alarming rate of African Americans in the jails these days is pretty much unbelievable. Why do you think that is?
Racism.
Well, you know, racism is part of it, and I believe that the complaints that we have from the prosecutors in Logan and on the federal level that the statute is not defined, and we have problems with they're defining the statutes in a narrowly conservative, defined way in the Megan Williams case. But if you look at other cases, that they strip the statute and define it in a liberal way. If you look at the Wright Vick case, for instance, right?
Okay.
Now, this is Virginia, but just let's look at it, for instance, right? He got charged with hurting some dogs and stuff. Well, I like dogs too. However, he pled guilty on one level in federal court, but turns around later on and gets indicted on the state level. So if you can stretch the statute, if you can do that to this man that was a career football player, if you can do that to him, we ask that you look and do the same thing in a situation where it was a flagrant hate crime, and you want to come up and tell us that the statute, we can't prove it. No, we don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear that.
Belinda, do you think they can prove the hate crime in the Megan Williams case?
Yes, because it was a target. That's the key in a hate crime. She was targeted because of her color.
Well, weren't there some sketchy reports out there going on about Megan Williams? I had heard or read somewhere that she maybe had a past of some untruths brought out.
That's what they try to do is make her the criminal,
right? Correct.
And not them.
Right.
She has some criminal past misdemeanors. Bad checks, misdemeanors.
Do you know what specific misdemeanors they were? I'm not sure.
According to the press, it was bad checks.
Right, and those and you know, Linda, excuse me, but those charges were later dismissed. The family's advocate is the Honorable Malik Shabazz from D.C. That's what Black Lawyers for Justice. Attorney Malik Shabazz. He can be reached if you get online and check blacklawyersforjustice.org. He can be reached. And my number here in West Virginia, I'm in Morgantown. I'm at area code 304-657-1493. We will be taking up we're raising funds because there are other cases that come up, and I'm an independent investigator, meaning that I don't get paid by the state. So I'm asking the people to be able to assist us in the various expenses that we incur in handling cases like this.
We're here talking with Belinda Morton, our legal analyst from Fayetteville, West Virginia, and John Shabazz from the Black Unity Coalition and the Black Lawyers for Justice.
What we're saying here is that what is happening to Megan shouldn't happen to anyone else, and to send a message out to the people and to other people who want to do bad things, the blacks, if they would add hate crime to this, that'd be a deterrent.
Well, speaking of...
it should be like a one-strike rule for people like these criminals from Logan.
With the specific hate crimes with white on black, could a black on white considered a hate crime?
Yes, it can.
Okay. I don't know if there's anything in the past or anything recent that's been brought up, or I know that you said that we couldn't think of anything recent in West Virginia too much specifically with white on black, but has there been any
there's been hate crimes with white on white. If you look at that, I feel it was out in the Midwest where the homosexual was beaten. He was beaten and tied to a post and left to die, and I can't recall if he died or not.
Mm-hmm.
It goes both ways.
What kind of criminal prosecution have they faced, those people?
They looked at it as a hate crime. I don't know if they prosecuted it as a hate crime, but it was issues out there during that time.
If you had to predict,
it was a homosexual.
If you had to predict what the way this case would go and how things would turn out, what would you suggest the penalties or criminal fines, etc., etc.? What do you think these people are looking at?
Well, I'd like for them to just be locked away forever.
Every single one of them?
Every single one of them. They're part of the problem.
I tend to follow up with what she said because the fact, Megan Williams just went in for additional surgery for what happened to her. Mm-hmm. You got to remember now, let me say this right. This is a case where all the sticks were stuck up in this woman. They stuck a stick up in this woman. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's true.
Horrendous things to happen.
For the listeners out there that aren't familiar, what are some of the things that this woman suffered through?
Made to eat rat feces, dog feces, human feces. Made to drink corn out of a commode, beaten and put out in the field to pick peas. I think it clearly looks to me like they just made her a sex slave for a period of time, right? And that she was left to die. No. But Megan Williams lived to tell, like so many others that had not lived to tell. So it's not just about Megan Williams, even though it's about Megan Williams, but it's about so many other hate crimes that we've had occur here in this state and in this country.
Now,
a lot of them that had not been brought to light.
I have to bring this up. Where are the parents in this case?
Which parents are you talking about?
Megan Williams' parents.
Okay.
They were there at the march with her.
No, if she has a disability, which her mother was said that her daughter is a little slow. Now, when did the parents? How come they're not watching over this girl more so? Like,
how old is she? There's been conflicting reports.
Yeah, the woman is 20 years. Megan Williams is 20 years old.
Okay.
However, she's mentally challenged, and because she's mentally challenged, she may be functioning on the level of say a 13, 14-year-old. Okay.
Okay.
So in terms of the parents, I'd have to say that Carmen Williams and Matthew Williams are good parents, because I'm not in the situation of blaming the victims in the situation. I'm not going to do that. We're here. I'm an advocate for the victim. So I understand you guys have legitimate questions like that, but I believe that Megan Williams was the victim in this case. So we
wholeheartedly.
We look to protect Megan Williams.
There's no argument with that. No argument with that.
No parents can watch a child 24 hours a day.
We had difficulty gaining support for this case because some people from the neighborhood said, well, she shouldn't have been out there. Well, she shouldn't have been doing this. And so we had to be able to get beyond all the negativity and deal specifically with that this woman needed help. When you understand, if a man is sick and dying, you don't ask him, well, what did you do? No, you go and help them. You go and help the person that needs your help. So that's what we did.
But no one can watch a child 24 hours a day.
That's true, Belinda. Very true.
No one. What is important here is that the community should have known something strange was going on in that trailer.
But Belinda, they did.
You shouldn't blame the victim.
Christy Messer, the sister of one of the persecuted, she went on record as saying that she saw Megan Williams back in July at this same trailer, and that she was actually dating one of them. How can
it's a tough lesson to learn for all the girls out there. I mean, really, a lot of people are being put into relationships that are abusive. We talked about the domestic violence. I mean,
it's still look. Just because you have a mate does not mean that you can abuse your mate.
Oh,
yeah. I don't do. And Megan Williams was not a mate to this person.
But I'm saying this wasn't the first time that this has happened before. I mean, the cops actually had to pull Megan away from that trailer. How come her parents didn't know that? I mean, if she has a problem with these people before, how come they didn't say, Megan, you do not go back there?
Now, you just stated that the cops had
you're making her a victim. You're making her like it was her fault to go someplace. Now we have freedom of travel.
I'm all for not blaming the victim 110%, but I mean, really though, it does need to be looked at because think about it. Any situation that you put yourself in, you can avoid it if you want. But at the end of the day, this girl is mentally challenged. Obviously, it's different than somebody else.
Oh.
6 people get one. 6 people get one.
Go ahead. That makes it even more outrageous that she was mentally challenged.
Exactly.
It would take it. Now, the woman is a small woman. 6 people on one woman.
I mean, these are grown adults either. We're not talking about teenagers or people in their 20s. This woman, the mother, in her late 40s, I mean, there's no excuse for it.
Right. And see, these are some of the things that, with all due respect, that I believe in some of these backwoods and so forth, in isolated areas like Logan County, African Americans in part know that there's certain parts of West Virginia that we just don't go into.
I think we have a phone call. Let's see. Caller, are you there?
Hey, caller, are you there?
Hi.
Yes.
Hi, could you state your name and where you're calling from?
Yeah, my name's Heather Evans. I'm calling from West Virginia, Morgantown.
Heather, if you have a television on or a radio, I'm not sure. It's kind of hard to hear you. If you could turn it down, please.
Yeah, hold on one minute.
Sure. And what was your question? Heather, if you're still listening out there, please call back in and we'll put you back on air. Now back to what we were talking about. Go ahead, guys.
Where were we?
Belinda, whoever was
We were
speaking.
talking about where you wanted to put Megan in the position that she shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
She was there.
Well, I'm just asking, how come her parents didn't know about these people? I mean,
What I'm saying is she's 20 years old. She has freedom of travel. You can't watch your children 24 hours a day. She was in a bad situation.
definitely.
When they got her, they came and they looked for her. It's not like they abandoned her. They looked for her. They found out where she was. Took her out of the situation. Thankfully, the person turned those people in.
How was
They
she
took
found?
appropriate action. They took appropriate action in getting her back to Charleston.
Somebody heard Megan Williams' moans, and they tipped the police off to where she was at.
Wow.
Somebody from
Returned her to her parents.
Now, you mentioned the backwoods aspect of this case in West Virginia as a whole. Would you guys say that West Virginia is more behind the times than, say, other states in the nation?
No, we're not say that. West Virginia has a lot of history of being on the forefront.
I would.
Civil rights.
That was Linda's perspective on that.
That's my. I'm a West Virginian. I'm a native West Virginian, and West Virginia is not backwards or behind.
Can I share my perspective on
Sure,
that? Right?
Please go ahead.
Yes.
Because I was born in West Virginia. However, I grew up in Western Pennsylvania. I went to start school in that area, right? So I love West Virginia. I love the land. However, in terms of some of the attitudes in West Virginia, are a little bit backward. But you can be backward. Doesn't matter if you're in West Virginia or outside of West Virginia. But the tendency to be just a little slow in terms of diversity and dealing with other communities. In some parts of West Virginia, there's a reputation that coincides with Senator Byrd's background as a former member of the Ku Klux Klan. So, as far as I'm concerned, and Sister Linda, she mentioned it, right, Senator Byrd's background, I have a tendency to think that we look at our politicians as being examples. And if a politician doesn't set the tone, because Senator Byrd, his name is on everything in West Virginia. So, again, we call out to Senator Byrd to deal with Senator Byrd, Governor Manchin.
Has he formally spoke out on the case?
Governor Manchin, now I got a comment from a law professor that told me that Governor Manchin did make a comment on the case, but his comment was not sufficient.
He didn't want to march.
He didn't want to march?
No.
Why do you think that is?
Well, there's some other people that didn't want to march either. The NAACP.
Danny Jones didn't want to march. Nobody that represented the city of Charleston wanted to march. They wanted to push this under the table.
This march occurred against the odds, and that's the whole thing about this Megan Williams. Because if we hadn't got the national attention from Attorney Malik Shabazz, who appointed me as investigator to do the groundbreaking work while they were out in Xena, handling that case. If we hadn't got the national attention, this could have been one of the other cases that is just swept up under the rug by the policing agencies that kind of like do a processing of various cases, particularly cases where African Americans are the victims, because we're not valued and we're not in those administrative positions as police investigators, as lawyers, as judges here in this state professionally. We're just not there in large numbers. We're not here in large numbers. We're not in the professional field in large numbers. So, again, I go back to saying that there should be some type of special protection. When a case like this comes up, yeah, we want the prosecutor to file hate crimes charges when it's so flagrant. Just because our numbers are not there to, maybe he doesn't think that we can make a difference in him holding that position in Logan County.
Well, we're here talking with Belinda Morton, our legal analyst from Fayetteville, West Virginia, and John Shabazz from the BLACKUNITY Coalition. Now, we're almost running out of time here, so we need to get our last comments in.
Okay, my last comment is this. West Virginia is a great place to live. It can be made a better place if the laws would be enforced equally. And that what happened to this woman should not happen to anyone else, and there should be a test case to go in and persecute these people, prosecute these people to the fullest extent of the law.
Is this an open and shut case, Belinda?
No, there's no such thing as open and shut case. So everything in law was always gray, and that's why you have advocates.
Okay.
Okay.
Linda, I'd like to be able to have your number where I can be able to contact you.
I can communicate with you guys after the show is finished, if you don't mind.
Okay, that would be wonderful. I want to be able to give my last statement too.
Go ahead.
In reference to this case, is that the Black Unity Coalition will be doing the follow-up work to the National March on Hate Crimes. Attorney Malik Shabazz is scheduled to come back to the Charleston area and have a unity rally there in Charleston on the first week in December. Hopefully the 9th, the 8th or 9th of December, that we are doing good work in following up, and the community itself rose up and is seeking new leadership because, you know, the Black Ministerial Alliance came out against this march, and we had Mayor Davy Jones come out. However, this march went off successfully anyway, and we're following up again with the Black Unity Coalition. Number that I can be reached at area code 304-657-1493. Give me a call because we're looking for people that are of goodwill. It's not a black or a white thing, but a wrong or a right thing.
Well, we want to thank John Shabazz as well as Belinda Morton so very much for being guests on tonight's show, and for you, the listeners, for tuning in once again. Have a great and pleasant evening.